Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, where we're focusing on working with MS. Your presenters are Harshi, Franciscus and Shannon, Moyle, who will both work for the Employment Support Service. And I'm Andrea Salmon. I'll be facilitating tonight. We acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians, past and present, on whose lands we meet today. And we acknowledge the deep feeling of attachment and the relationship of Aboriginal people to country. We also respect the cultural authority of the elders in each community. So here's our two lovely presenters, Shannon and Harshi, who are both occupational therapists who work with the MS Employment Support Service. They're both based here in Melbourne, but our support service covers ACT, New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. Some challenges around regional areas, but we'll have a chat about that during the presentation. So I'm going to pass over to the girls who are going to take control with the mouse and they'll lead us through today's presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm Harshi. So today's webinar is about MS and work. The aim of today's program is to increase your knowledge and understanding of your rights, entitlements and issues regarding MS disclosure in the workplace. We'll also want you to start considering implementation of symptom management strategies that may work for you as we discuss through a case study. And we'll also discuss how the MS Employment Support Service can assist you throughout your work journey.
Okay, so our specialist employment support service is located in the following areas, as you can see here on the screen. These include Melbourne Metro, Sydney, Brisbane, Geelong, Hobart and Perth. We also have plans to expand into the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast and Launceston areas. Unfortunately, at this stage, our program is not available in rural areas. However, there are likely to be other disability employment services in your area which could assist you. There's also some eligibility criteria in order to register with our program, which Harshi will be discussing later in this webinar.
I believe we have a poll question here, so Andrea will do that one.
We do indeed. So I'm going to launch this poll. Actually, I should have done one in the trial, but that's okay. So this poll is popped up on your screen and it's asking you, what are the benefits of working for you? So you can tick as many as apply. So you use your mouse and you hover over the icon, the little square, and you tick whichever ones apply to you. You can tick as many as you like, whether it's the income, the social interaction, the fact that work keeps your mind busy, whether it's the sense of contributing, whether it's providing a focus outside of home. So for you, what are the benefits of working? Now I can see that nearly everyone's responded, but a couple of more people need to respond to that. If you can, you might be using a device that doesn't let you respond, so we will get a sense of that. That's just about everyone. I'll close that off and I'll share the results with everyone. So I think it's encouraging to know, and I'm forgetting which computer I'm talking to, so I'm probably miles away by audio, but for everyone online, income is certainly a benefit of working, as is keeping your mind active. And then for other people, there's the social interaction, the sense of contributing, and the focus outside of home. So I think we're all on the same page with that. We probably all agree.
Yes, those factors are really important benefits of working. I was just telling Shannon earlier this morning, I met with a client who had 3 months of long service leave, and although it did provide her with the reprieve that she needed, she also felt a bit of, I guess, loss of purpose, and her routine was all over the place, and she felt like she didn't really have much direction in her days. So yes, those are really important factors as well. I think, is that another poll question with the barriers?
All right, next poll straight away. And I'm sorry about the audio. Yes, we've 3 people trying to sit at 2 computers, so that's why it might be cutting in and out a little bit. So what this one's asking you, what do you see as the barriers for you to continue working? And again, you can tick as many of these that might apply. Is it the travel to and from work? Is it feeling unwelcome in your workplace? Is it that you feel that there's limited support? Is it actually around your symptoms? Maybe managing your fatigue or your mobility problems, or maybe even some bladder changes? Or is it the physical environment? And again, it might be one of these, it might be many, it might be none. But have a little think about, what do you see as the barriers for you to continuing the work that you do? And then we'll share the results. That's nearly everyone voted. Maybe a couple more people to vote on that one. Again, though, pop in a comment, throw in another response. There could be something else for you that's relevant. But I'll close that off. Thanks, everyone, and share the results. So interestingly, 100% of the people that are online tonight have identified that it's symptom management. That'll come up. And about half the group, travel is an issue. Great that no one said feeling unwelcome in their workplace. That's fantastic. And a few people are finding it's limited support or it's the physical environment. So I think that goes with what we know about it as well.
Yes, yeah, I think Shannon would agree. That's quite reflective with all our clients that we work with, that symptom management is really big. Travel to and from, absolutely. A lot of clients are fatigued before they even get to work. So imagine completing a work day after that. So yeah, no, definitely reflective of what our clients feel.
And Susan has added the complexity of her job makes it difficult for her with brain fog.
Yeah, we can talk a bit about management of that in the later slides when we look at the case study.
Thanks, Harshi. So if we look at the statistics of MS in the workforce, we know there are around 24,000 people in Australia who have MS and over 2 million worldwide. Of these, approximately 87% are of working age. People with MS work in a variety of jobs and fields and are often well established in their careers at the time of diagnosis. This is why it's so important to seek support early, to put in place some strategies to manage your symptoms. Most people with MS leave because of their symptoms becoming too much of a barrier, as opposed to workplace factors such as inflexibility of work conditions or being asked to leave by a manager. So basically, if you manage your symptoms better, you're more likely to stay at work.
So staying at work. So there's no immediate reason to leave work unless your symptoms completely impede you from doing your job. But even in that case, we really do encourage you to speak to someone at MS Australia or even your allied health team first. So maybe speaking with your GP or your neurologist, as there may be adjustments that can be put in place to assist you as well. If you do decide to alter your work conditions or hours or even consider leaving employment, we'd really like to hone in how important it is to speak to a superannuation lawyer before you do so, because this can affect your future total permanent disability payments and your income protection payments. So definitely always seek advice before you change anything to do with work, really.
So understanding your legal rights. I can't stress enough how important it is to be aware of what your legal rights are. There's a number of state and federal laws in place to protect the rights of people with a disability. Employers are definitely not allowed to dismiss someone due to their disability or just because you have MS. There's also state-specific acts which put in place some more protection for people with disability. Some examples of these are the Privacy Act. So this one outlines how organisations can collect, use and disclose your information. It's definitely worthwhile referring to your organisation's policies in regards to the implications of disclosure. So you'd want to know where your information is being stored and who will have access to it. Most importantly, The Act requires employers to put in place actions to ensure equal opportunity in the workplace for people with disabilities. This is what we refer to as reasonable adjustments. The legislation unfortunately doesn't specify the types of adjustments required. Therefore, this is considered on a case-by-case basis, dependent on the size, capability and finances of each organisation. Some examples of reasonable adjustments could be modifying the physical environment and improving access to a building for someone in a wheelchair, modified workstations and sit-to-stand desks, assistive equipment, air conditioning, and flexibility around hours of work and days of work. There's also a handout included with these slides from Fair Work website, which provides some useful tips on how to approach your manager regarding reasonable adjustments. I definitely recommend you check this one out.
Just so you've got one law firm there, but there are many law firms, but we just know that Beryl and Watson have a really good understanding of MS, as do Morris Blackburn, as do Slater and Gordon. There are probably others, but these are ones who we have a good relationship with.
So here we're going to talk a little bit about workplace entitlement. So exacerbations can be very unpredictable. So knowing how much sick leave, annual leave and long service leave you have can help you plan ahead and manage this. It's important to make sure that you're actually using your sick leave when you're unwell, especially on days where you might be experiencing extreme fatigue. Maybe just one day off can be the reprieve that you need to get through even the next 1 to 2 weeks at work. I've had a lot of clients who keep pushing and pushing themselves to get through, and they end up quite burnt out and end up taking 2 to 3 days or even a week of sick leave in the end to assist with their fatigue management. So consider using your sick leave and listening to your body when you need to. It can also be very useful to look at your organisation's policies in relation to these issues, so such as sick leave and unpaid leave. These can be found in your HR policy, your employment contract or award agreements. If there's no other leave to take, explore whether you can take other avenues such as pre-purchase leave if your company allows that, or even a flexible working arrangement. So maybe looking at a 9-day fortnight perhaps or something similar. The next step would be then to look at if you have salary continuance or income protection through your superannuation policy and see what benefits these allow you. If you're a member of the union at work and you have any concerns regarding these issues, it can be very useful to contact them for advice as well, and they can help advocate on your behalf to your employer as well.
I'll give a little plug too. On the webinar library, and periodically we have a program around better understanding your superannuation. So check that out too.
So you may be entitled to some income support from Centrelink, depending on your individual circumstances and financial position. So we've got the mobility allowance for people with disability, illness or injury who cannot use public transport and need to travel to and from work. So we have found that most MS clients can be eligible on fatigue or bladder issues alone, because these symptoms impact your ability to use public transport. This payment is not means tested, so they won't look at income or assets, and it also provides you access to the healthcare card. Please note that due to the rollout of the NDIS, the mobility allowance will cease for some clients this year in July, 1st of July. So you can talk to Centrelink for more information regarding that. But our understanding is that after the 1st of July, if you're a new client, new customer, you can't apply for it. We've also got the sickness allowance. So if all leave has been exhausted and extended leave is required, you may be eligible for the sickness allowance, granted that you have a job to return to after the sickness period. This payment is means tested. So again, they'll look at your income or your assets. The disability support pension. So the DSP is subject to assessment on the basis that you have no capacity to work more than 15 hours per week for 2 years or more due to ill health or disability. The essential medical equipment payment, it's an annual fee of $147 to people who experience additional increases in home energy costs from the use of essential medical equipment to manage their disability or medical condition. And finally, we've got the carer allowance, which is a supplementary payment for carers who provide additional daily care and attention for someone with a disability. This one is not means tested either. So I'll pass on to Shannon, who will talk a bit about government entitlements and schemes.
Thanks, Harshi. So I'll be talking about government entitlements, and we'll start with the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the NDIS. Some of you may already be on the NDIS or know of someone who is. The NDIS is designed to empower people with a disability to work towards achievements, identify disability-related supports they need, and choose where they would like to buy their supports from. There's also the Mental Health Care Plan. So this provides Medicare rebates for up to 10 counselling sessions. There's also the Chronic Disease Management Plan, and this one provides Medicare rebates for 5 allied health visits per calendar year. Both the Mental Health Care Plan and Chronic Disease Management Plan can be accessed through your GP if you're interested in those ones. Next, we have the Medical Cooling Concession. So this one provides a discount on summer electricity costs for healthcare card holders, where a member of the family has a medical condition that affects the body's ability to regulate temperature. This concession is available from November to April each year. There's also parking permits. Each state has a different system, and if you call MS Connect, they can give you some more state-specific advice. However, in Victoria, the blue permit gives you access to disability spaces or parking in any paid parking permit uncharged. The green permit will double the parking time in spots in any ordinary bay. However, you can't park in the disabled spots. The multi-purpose taxi program. A lot of you might know this one as the half-price taxi card. So each state has a slightly different version of the same program, but essentially this one is a 50% reduction on the overall taxi price, and you can discuss this with your GP if you'd like some more information on that one. We also have GST-free cars, so you can actually buy a car GST-free if you're an eligible person with a disability who is gainfully employed and you intend to use the car for your personal transportation. You can refer to the ATO website for more information on that one. I also thought it was worth mentioning Job Access. So Job Access is the funding body for work-related equipment and modifications that we apply to as employment support consultants. And you actually don't need to be linked with a DES provider to apply to Job Access. You can do this through your employer or yourself if you're self-employed.
Can I just make a clarification? The medical cooling concession, you need to have a healthcare card, don't you?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And the essential medical equipment payment as well. So,
Cool.
Right. Yes, yeah.
So just another point of clarification, the Job Access, that's nationwide, isn't it? That's nothing to do with whether you're metropolitan or regional.
No, that's nationwide, that's correct, yeah.
And sorry, another couple of questions if you don't mind at this point. You might not know the answer to this one, but we suggested that your union is a good point of contact.
Okay.
Do you have to be a member of the union before you're diagnosed? Or is it just, do you have to be a member of your union? Or can you even go to a union that you're not a member of?
From my understanding, you have to be a member of the union. You can seek advice from Fair Work if that's a great resource to go to if you're not a part of the union. But you do, to have them come and advocate on your behalf, I believe you have to be a member.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And would you imagine that they would decline your membership if you've already got a condition?
I wouldn't imagine that,
Yeah.
because there's often other workplace factors that they could be assisting with apart from the fact you have MS. So they often come into play with HR related queries or hours and things like that. So definitely not.
Yeah, I think it would be well worth a phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely something to look into as well on our behalf as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
So moving on to job requirements. Everyone with MS experiences different symptoms, and these symptoms will have a greater or lesser impact on your job depending on the type of work that you do. Regardless of this, you still need to be able to perform the inherent requirements of your specific role. Inherent requirements vary depending on what your job is, but essentially these are the tasks which are definitely required in order to perform a job productively, to the required standard, and to work effectively within a team. So you can see the examples here on the slide. A builder needs to be able to climb a ladder, and a call centre worker needs to be able to multitask and communicate effectively. It's also important to consider those assumed roles which aren't part of your job description, and these are usually able to be reviewed with your manager. I think we have a poll here as well.
Sorry, I'm sidetracked with a little conversation, but that's... So this question's asking, to what percentage do you think you fulfill the inherent requirements of your job? So this was a conversation that we had this afternoon, in actual fact, around being aware of the inherent requirements of your role. And if you're thinking that you are I'm totally filling them, that's 100%. If you think you're mainly fulfilling them, that's 80%. Maybe you're thinking 50%, or, you know, it might not be applicable to you. But have a little think about what's required of your role and how you're going fulfilling it. The trick can be when actually things come into your role that are not the inherent requirements. They're additional things, or they're added on. They might not be the inherent requirements. So it's a bit of a tricky question. Sorry about that, making you think at this time of the night. Let's see how you go. A lot of people are answering, that's great. And yes, it might not be applicable to you, so that's okay too. Anybody else want to respond before I close it off? Or I'll close it off with that. Alrighty, I'll share the results. So this is interesting. 40% of the group feel that they are actually doing 100% of the inherent requirements, which is great. And 30% are thinking it's around 80%. And only really, that's only a couple of people, could even be one, is thinking maybe they're sitting at around the 50%, and then maybe, you know, not applicable for a couple of people as well.
I would say that's pretty consistent with what we see in our caseload. A lot of the time, our clients might not have even considered this question before, and whether they can actually perform these requirements unless there's something really obvious happening for them symptom-wise. But I do recommend you go back and reflect upon this a bit more. And it's often a big part of our work, working with our clients to, apart from manage their symptoms, to look at these extra demands that have crept into their role, which we could be discussing with their employer in more detail and supporting them that way to make some adjustments. So definitely a good point to consider.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, a good reference point sometimes is your contract. They'll have your job description listed in there as well. So you can refer to that to see if you're completing everything or if you're doing much more than what it states as well. So here we're going to move on to discussing a case study, but while we do so, I want everyone to have a bit of a think about the symptoms you experience at work and how they impact you. So Sue Smith is a 35-year-old mother of two, wife, and working full-time as an IT project manager. So she engaged with the MSL Employment Support Service, and many of the strategies presented are applicable to people not engaged with the program, with further advice through MS Australia, MSL. Really. So she relayed that she was experiencing fatigue whilst at work, which exacerbated cognitive issues, specifically in relation to multitasking, memory and concentration, which all impacts her productivity and efficiency with work tasks. Sue reported difficulty walking long distances due to leg stiffness and dragging of the left foot, particularly as the day progresses, making it difficult for Sue to catch public transport to travel home at the end of the day. Furthermore, she experienced urinary frequency, dizziness, intermittent blurred vision, which further impacted focus at work, as well as, again, ability to use public transport. Sue notes that the office is quite hot, which exacerbates all symptoms of MS. She also relayed feelings of low mood and noted that she was not aware of some of the Centrelink entitlements she may be eligible for.
Okay, so now I'll talk through some of the strategies and supports that we implemented to help Sue keep working. In order to manage fatigue, there was further review around what exactly was causing the fatigue, and this enabled us to identify some strategies such as planning, so planning work for earlier in the day when feeling less fatigued, completing a bit more preparation, and also pacing work throughout the day and taking more regular rest breaks. We also looked at the work structure and made some changes in regards to the hours and days of work, in addition to looking at a work from home arrangement. We also completed a workstation assessment to look at how Sue's symptoms were impacting on her at work. We identified some equipment to help her manage this, including a more supportive chair and a sit-stand desk. This allowed her to change her posture throughout the day. We also talked about organising a cleaner through her NDIS plan, which might assist with reducing fatigue and conserving some well-needed energy for work. In terms of managing the cognitive changes, we discussed Sue's role in more detail. We were able to suggest some strategies, including placing alerts on the computer to remind her of meetings, syncing Outlook with her phone, prioritising activities and ticking them off once completed, using a diary and not just relying on memory alone, and also asking colleagues to send emails and follow up instead of asking for things face-to-face, as she had a tendency to forget. We also provided some education to her employer around MS and how Sue is more productive when completing one task at a time. There's also assistive technology such as the Smart Pen, which records conversations and allows you to take brief notes, and you can refer back to this recording later. In terms of reducing the impact of heat, we applied for funding through Job Access, Employment Assistance Fund, for a cooling vest and necktie. This was really helpful for Sue to wear to work on hot days, and even inside at work if the temperature was not cool enough.
To help reduce the impact of mobility concerns and risk of falling at work, we recommended that Sue see an orthotist for a further review of her foot drop and a potential brace or AFO to help reduce the risk of falling. Additionally, we suggested a physiotherapy assessment to assist with maintaining and improving her current level of function through further strengthening and stretching exercises. We discussed and completed a work site visit to review the accessibility of the environment and make suggestions to manage the impact of reduced mobility in the workplace. So we introduced incorporating regular rest breaks throughout the day and using a foldable walking stick to make it easier when catching public transport and mobilising at work. Finally, we referred Sue onto the following entitlements, such as the disabled parking permit, the mobility allowance and half-price taxi card to assist with reducing physical fatigue and improving safety at work as well as in the community. To address the bladder changes that Sue was experiencing, in relation to Sue's case, we suggested applying for the Continence AIDS payment scheme to assist with funding continence products and to support management of her bladder symptoms. Other strategies that we have used with previous clients though is moving the desk closer to where the bathroom is located, as this will ensure that someone can get to the toilet immediately if required, and additionally assist with fatigue management by reducing the walk to and from the bathroom. To address the visual disturbances at work, we applied for workplace equipment such as the BenQ monitor, which has eye care technology built in. So the larger screen has anti-flickering and anti-blue light filters to help with minimising visual fatigue whilst working. And finally, to address the issues of low mood and depression, we further discussed these issues with Sue and suggested that counselling or psychology was recommended, and she accessed this through the mental health care plan. It was also suggested to discuss and review her medication with her GP and neurologist, and to also explore mindfulness and meditation to help.
Okay, so the next topic is disclosure. So do you need to disclose your MS diagnosis to your employer? Well, it does depend. There's certainly some pros of disclosing, such as receiving support, being able to share your experiences and debunk some myths around MS. There's also some cons to consider before you disclose, such as the potential stigma, presumptions, and being treated differently by your manager and colleagues. Where symptoms are permanently impacting on the safety of your role, there is a legal obligation to disclose under OH&S. Apart from this fact, you need to consider whether you'd be more supported if your employer is aware and what you might need from them. A lot of the adjustments we've talked about, particularly in the case study, can be put in place without actually disclosing. There's something to think about. On the flip side of this, disclosing can often lead to restructuring roles, modifying your work schedule, and putting environmental modifications in place. But in the end, whether you do and how you choose to disclose is completely up to you. It depends on your role and the relationship you have with your employer. There's also some more resources on our website and the link in the slide, which has some useful information on disclosure for you. I think we have a poll here as well.
So let's ask you guys for your opinion. Given the job that you're in and your MS, would you disclose your MS in the workplace? You might have already done that. You might have already decided. So that could be a yes, absolutely, or it could be a no, there's no way. Or maybe you sit in the not sure, maybe kind of camp, and that's okay. There's really no right or wrong. Everybody's situation would be different, but it's just interesting for us to know and to share in some ways some of the concerns or questions you might have about disclosing. So just about everybody's responded. Anybody else like to respond to that one? And I'll share the results. We'll see if it's what you expected. So 77% of the group have or think it's important to disclose their MS in their workplace, given their job and their MS. 8%, so I'm not good at maths, but that might be one person, and that's okay, thought no, can't do that. And a couple of people are not sure, wondering maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Definitely something to consider, but if you do think about disclosing, if you haven't already, you could also consider taking someone with you to the meeting as support, such as another colleague that you trust or an employment support consultant if you are linked with us. And I'd also recommend that you send a follow-up email after you do have a discussion with your employer, just to keep record of what you discussed when you disclosed and what is being followed up on.
So seeking advice. So on this slide, we have a few websites and resources to seek further advice in relation to workplace matters. So MS Connect, the 1-800 number, and you can get a referral to the MS Employment Support Service for some advice and how to manage your MS symptoms at work, or if it's anything specific, we can help with that too. Internally is always a good place to start, but this is also only if you've disclosed of your MS. So your manager or supervisor can give you advice, the HR department, and also the union there. The Fair Work Commission, great resource. There's actually a lot of information on the Fair Work website. There's also a lot of printable resources. Any queries you may have, they have a number you can contact. So they're a really good resource for any workplace matters, any at all. And there's just a few other websites there that provide advice on health, financial and legal issues.
What's the best way to connect with Job Access? You give them a call on their 1-800 number?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, there was a question about that in the questions. How do I access Job Access? And really, it probably is make a phone call.
Yeah.
Their number's 1-800-464-800. And if you're, someone else made the comment that they really connected with the case study. Absolutely. MS Connect is your starting point. Give MS Connect a call tomorrow. They're open from 8 till 6. And someone's always on the line, and absolutely, they'll put you on the right track.
Yes, so the next slide, this slide just looks at the services at Multiple Sclerosis Limited. So we've got MS Connect. They're really the number you call for any advice or referrals to the following programs. So the MS Employment Support Team, NDIS related services, so physiotherapists, OTs, support coordination. We also have social work advisors, nurse advisors, peer support programs. They're a really good place if you're not engaging a lot with other people who are diagnosed with MS. Peer support programs are quite good as well to get, I guess, feel. What do you think about peer support?
Oh, I love peer support.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that again in a bit.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, our peers are all trained volunteers, and they you can be matched with someone who is it could even be around your work that you're matched with someone, and you might talk to them about your experience and they'll share their experience with you as well.
Thanks, Andrea. And there's education programs and volunteers as well that you can access.
Okay, so just to recap, our MS Employment Support Service is made up of allied health professionals, so we're OTs, but we also have physios as well. And our main aim is to support our clients to better manage their symptoms and continue working. So we provide information, education and support to people who are already in a job, but we also have a consultant who helps people to find employment as well. We complete a range of assessments in order to identify what the barriers are, and this allows us to provide specific advice and support on how to manage these barriers. We provide recommendations and assistance regarding equipment and modifications to the physical work or your role. We provide advice and support on whole of life issues and recognise there's often factors outside of MS which impact on work. We also provide advocacy and support to link in with other services such as the NDIS. And Harshi will now talk about the eligibility criteria that we have for our program.
So what we require to register you for the MS Employment Support Service, so we need confirmation of your diagnosis of MS. So this can be through letter from your GP, a neurologist, or maybe even a report you have at home. evidence of your current employment, so a copy of your pay slips or your contract, confirmation of Australian citizenship, so copy of your birth certificate, passport or permanent residency visa. And we also need a CRN. So if you've ever received any sort of Centrelink allowance, you would have one. If you haven't, then it's very easy to get one. You can just visit your local Centrelink office with 100 points of ID. And I just want to let you guys know that this program isn't means tested at all. So they're not looking at your income or your assets or anything. There's also, we are a disability employment support service, so we are bound by certain eligibility criteria. So the main one is that you must be working a minimum of 8 hours per week above minimum wage to be eligible for registration into our program.
Okay, so if you're interested in accessing the support from us, call MS Connect to be involved. However, in Perth and Queensland, the referral process is a bit different, and the contact details for referral are listed on this slide. So do get in contact if you would like to register for our support.
So there's a question still about the regional areas. Regional Victoria, Warrnambool is not covered at the moment, is it?
Not at the moment, sorry.
Yep. But there would be a local provider. It just wouldn't be an MS provider.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a question I get quite a lot from my clients. The answer is yes, you can access the Employment Support Service and NDIS at the same time, so they're funded separately. So absolutely, please apply for both.
And take-home message. So this really brings us to the end of the content we wanted to share with you all. We hope it was very helpful. Our take-home message would be to be proactive and plan ahead at work. Disclosure is ultimately your choice. So do not feel pressured, do not feel obligated, it is your choice. Before you make any decisions or changes at work, make sure you're well informed and seek advice before making any permanent changes as well. And there was a few things, a few resources and superannuation lawyers we listed before as well. And they're just resources for you all there. Thank you.
There are a couple of questions, and it will encourage more questions to come through as well. We have an office in Newcastle for NDIS. Do we have any employment support out of Newcastle?
I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really not.
Yeah.
But so Renee's asking about the Hunter Valley, and that would be the Newcastle would be the closest. So we're thinking not. I'm sorry, Renee.
Mostly the metro areas at this stage.
Yep. But there are a couple of people asking. So how do they find their local disability employment support service? Would it be sufficient? And this is a very Gen Y response. But can you Google disability employment support service near me?
Yes, I would absolutely type into Google DES, Disability Employment Service, and it should come up on Google Maps in regards to the providers nearby.
Yeah.
So you can definitely link in with any of those and you can still access that type of support.
And then make a call and have the conversation with them. And if they don't feel particularly confident around MS, we can help support them with their knowledge about MS. So, you know, we can support in that way, you know, slightly differently. Yeah. Cool. So please put in, oh, more questions are here, sorry. Sorry, now I've scrolled to the other end of the questions. There was a question earlier about the job seeking aspect of employment support service. Where is that available? Where do you need to live to be able to get job seeking support?
I would say the same, so it's still metro areas in each of those states that was mentioned, I think on the second slide.
And am I right in thinking there's some work being developed to have more online support but that's a work in progress at the moment.
Yes, definitely.
So at the moment, metro capital cities, Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, Hobart,
Yep.
Launceston,
Yep. Perth. Yep.
Brisbane, and soon to be online as well, but that's not quite there yet. So there was a comment or a clarification that you need a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis to access the service, and that's true. And how long does it take for the mobility allowance to be processed? That's a great question. I don't know if there'd be an easy answer
I've
to that.
had some clients who are approved within the week, and others that take about 6 to 8 weeks. It's really up to the Centrelink office, your local Centrelink office.
And also, I guess, how well the forms are filled in by your GP. So sometimes if they're not filled in correctly, Centrelink might have to follow up for extra information.
Yeah. And they will be starting to discourage mobility allowance because they're really wanting that to be built into people's NDIS plans.
Yeah.
So that's also worth considering. Renee, the handouts were already sent, so hopefully you did receive, everybody got the handouts of these slides and a couple of other things in their email inbox from Education or MS Education. Keep writing in questions and comments, and I'll give you time by going through some of these things. Just to inform you, and really just to buy time while you type, that we have some free ebooks that are available for people. So if you're interested in reading more about symptom management or learning more about MS, there are some ebooks that you can access, and you contact MS Connect to get the login details. There are a couple of online tools that are also interesting, and particularly tonight we've talked about managing your symptoms, and the Get Your Act Together tool is an online series of questions that then gives you some tips and strategies around a particular symptom. So it asks you to plug in the symptom that you're exploring and a few other demographic details, and then it gives you a report. Now, when it was created specifically for the ACT. That's why it's cleverly called Get Your Act Together. The only thing that makes it ACT specific, though, are the services. All the other tips and advice on managing your symptoms are applicable to everyone. And just a reminder that we are an NDIS registered provider, and there's some of the services that you can access through MSL. And a couple of other services. It's worth being aware of our financial assistance program. This is a program that offers one-off funds for people facing financial hardship. So often it's for things that don't fit into any other category of funding, or it could be that you have to provide some top-up funding or something like that. But it's always worth a phone call to MS Connect to inquire about that. Tuck that away in your, pocket of resources, because that might be handy. I'll go back to the questions, but please, after the webinar finishes, please stay on. A survey will pop up, and we love to get your feedback because it's really helpful to us in improving our programs. Bridie, I can't give you the password now for the ebooks because, to be honest, I don't know what it is. I'd have to go and look that up. So it's not a secret. I don't have that to hand. All right. Superannuation lawyer Carolyn, you could give MS Connect a call tomorrow and ask them for a few contacts. Although, as I've said that, I think there is a list somewhere on the website. If you looked up, if you put legal advice in the search bar, you might find it on our website, but otherwise give MS Connect a call tomorrow. We've got a sheet, a list of people who we've worked with and that we know understand multiple sclerosis, and they'll give you a whole list of phone numbers.
And yeah, Holly, I'm not sure. NDIS contact times are quite challenging. Sometimes they're short, sometimes they take a long time. But if you need help with that, again, give MS Connect a call. We have an NDIS engagement team that can be really assistive in helping that progress. So I hope I've covered all those questions. What I'll do, I'm in next in a couple of days. I will double check that I've answered everyone's questions, and if we haven't, we'll follow those up by email afterwards. Or you can pop it in now, but I think we've got them. Bridie, you've got a couple of specific questions. You might want to give MS Connect a call. That's the other beauty of having the MS Connect phone line, is that they can help you with really specific issues where on a webinar we need to try and keep quite general. But yeah, by all means, give the team there a call. Oh, this was an interesting one. Do Fair Work cover all occupations? And my understanding is they do. So for all of us, our understanding is that they do. They cover everything. Okay, I think we've largely covered the questions that have been asked. Absolutely, Renee. If you think of something else, your point of connection would be back through MS Connect, but they will direct your question. If they can't answer it, which they probably can because they're super, they will pass it on to the right people to have answered. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Shannon and Harshi, for staying back and doing this program tonight. It's been really informative, and I'm sure everyone that's been online has also found it informative for their situations as well. So that the message is, don't make any changes until you've sought advice, and pretty much across the board, MS Connect is a great point of contact. They'll set you in the right direction and help you with whatever it is that you're needing to know. And there's no such thing as a silly question either. Just ask. They'll always, you know, there'll be an answer. Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being online. And again, thank you, Shannon and Harshi, for your time and your input. And we'll look forward to seeing everyone on another webinar. But please stay on and do the short survey at the end of this program. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.